What is the most likely to cause humanity's extinction? Ezekiel said, I've always thought that humans will begin modifying DNA and making cyborg-like modifications to the human body until we reach the point that the concept of human will be so diluted that we will have to call ourselves another way, leading to the extinction of humanity as we know it. Galactic Nexus said, I think people really underestimate what it would take to actually completely exterminate our entire species. We already bounced back from a population collapse down to under 10,000 once. We could do so again. Nuclear war, ecological collapse, incurable disease, I highly doubt that any of them could kill everyone. Even if it's just a few isolated pockets in the outback or the jungle that survive, that's still not extinction. Honestly, I think it would take a cosmic catastrophe, asteroid comet impact, gamma ray burst, etc., to completely obliterate us, and that assumes that it occurs soon enough that we don't have viable populations outside of Earth. Edit. To clarify slightly, I'm not for a minute saying that everything will be fine. If we nuke ourselves back to the Stone Age, or completely alter the planet's climate such that agriculture becomes impossible, then of course human civilization would probably never recover. The question is explicitly outright extinction, which I think is a big step further. Labor Butch said, yes and no. The breadth and depth of genetic diversity for Homo sapiens is not so great. It is most diverse in Africa, where humans have been living for a couple 100,000 years. Every time a population migrated, only a random sample of the genetic variety of this origin population made it. This new population had less genetic diversity, and any new migration starting from there would again be randomly reduced in diversity, unless the whole population migrated. Let me illustrate. Suppose the whole Latin alphabet represents the whole of genetic diversity in a species. Now a bottleneck event occurs. This can be a volcano, a really deadly germ, or space lasers targeting everyone blonde. Doesn't matter what kind of event as long as the population affected isn't totally random. Yes, a volcano isn't random. It affects most of people settling on its slope, for instance. Suddenly the whole bottom row of the keyboard in our genetic diversity gets wiped out. Labor Butch said, can you still spell and read without these letters? Certainly. But some word will become difficult, some impossible. You still spell a dread without these letters? Ertail. So will your default, so I possile. Now over time new letters get added, derived from the remaining letters, like I and so on. They will replace some of the lost letters and add rebuild diversity over time, but that doesn't mean the original letters won't be gone. There's this term, minimum viable population, that tries to calculate the size of a population that prevents dangerous effects a certain amount of generations into the future. There are many factors involved, RK selective species, stochasticity, etc., but suffice it to say you'll need hundreds to thousands of people to achieve that. I have a vague memory of a diversity representing population for humans as 20,000 individuals, but for mice was on the order of 100,000. Can't recall where I read that though. All that is to say, no. Our genetic pool isn't fucked. It's just shallower than you would suspect of a K-selective species of our age. Jesse ETK said, reminds me of the Cape honeybee. It's a type of honeybee that naturally lives in the Cape province in South Africa. It's just like any other type, except a single worker in the 90s was born with a freak mutation that allowed her to produce exact clones of herself without even mating. So now these clone bees with no queen invade the hives of other types of honeybees, breed them out of their own nest, kill their queen and then disperse to infect other hives when the infested colony collapses. They're a plague for the African beekeeping industry, and there's no real way of getting rid of them. So if you're a South African beekeeper and see them in your hives, they're usually darker than regular bees. You have to burn the whole thing to the ground. They're all clones upon clones upon clones of that single freak worker bee that's been dead for decades. Kaushikya said, the evidence that a gigantic impact occurred at the end of the Cretaceous period is very solid. Besides the Chicxulub crater itself buried beneath the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, there are all sorts of other indications, such as geochemical anomalies, iridium abundance from the impactor, molten glass particles from the impact, tektites, shocked quartz, from the explosion, impact melt and breccia in the crater fill, soot from widespread forest fires, mega tsunami deposits, etc. The impact definitely happened. The only substantial controversy is in 3 areas. 1. How severe and exactly what form the effects from the impact took. 2. Whether the impact was truly coincident with the timing of the mass extinction. And 3. Whether it was the sole or primary cause. It's extremely close in timing, but there are always challenges when trying to resolve things at a fine, sub-million-year timescale when you're looking back 65 million years or so, especially if whack a gigantic rock into the surface of the Earth and stir things up on a grand scale in the immediate area around the impact. Khashoggi said. The main issue that has shown up in the literature is some microfossil data that implies the timing might be off slightly, but when you look into the details of it there are plenty of alternative explanations for what has been observed. For example, literal mixing of the microfossils at cm scale due to depositional or erosional processes. People argue about those details, but it's pretty technical. It remains a huge coincidence that such a large impact, the largest one known in over 500 million years of Earth history, happens to be close to the timing of the second largest mass extinction. None of this precludes the possibility that the large volcanic eruptions in India that straddle the age of boundary, the Deccan Traps, were also a factor, but that the impact happened at about that time and is likely involved somehow is not seriously questioned. Having both involved might even help explain the intensity of the mass extinction. Scientists being scientists, they still manage to generate plenty of controversy as they consider all the options and look at all the details. Being only human, there's competition and emotion wrapped up in it. Most scientists just look at the data rather than getting involved in the personal squabbles, but the latter's what sells well in a documentary. Disabled said. My fave is gamma ray burst. If one happens close enough to hit us, we probably wouldn't even detect it. That means that at any moment, we can be flash fried into extinction with very likely no warning. I think about that sometimes when life stuff is weighing me down. Edit. Apparently I'm wrong about the gamma ray burst cooking us instantly. It would wipe out our protection from solar radiation and kill us all slowly. One of you could tone down the condescension though. People make mistakes, and can learn from them. There are other cosmic life-ending events that could happen and we can't do shit about, even if we could detect them. Some are confused as to why that comforts me. To answer that, it reminds me that things don't always matter as much as we pretend they do. One day, this planet will be a lifeless rock one way or another. The days we have are ticking down to our end, so take a deep breath and enjoy the fact that we get to live at all. WGC 123 said. One of the scariest stories to me was a link here on Reddit, to a study claiming that we can never restore civilization in a case like that. By removing all the easily accessible fossil fuel, we will never be able to bring civilization back up to a level where we can start using renewable energy, where we can have plentiful metal and concrete, where we can build large buildings and travel long distances. There's just nothing else that is a good enough energy source. Edit. For those curious, I couldn't find the Reddit discussion, and my use of the term study was mistaken, but I believe the source was https://aeon.co/we-reboot-a-modern-civilization-without-fossil-fuels. WGC 123 said. One of the scariest stories to me was a link here on Reddit, to a study claiming that we can never restore civilization in a case like that. By removing all the easily accessible fossil fuel, we will never be able to bring civilization back up to a level where we can start using renewable energy, where we can have plentiful metal and concrete, where we can build large buildings and travel long distances. There's just nothing else that is a good enough energy source. Edit. For those curious, I couldn't find the Reddit discussion, and my use of the term study was mistaken, but I believe the source was https://aeon.co/we-reboot-a-modern-civilization-without-fossil-fuels. Minilip30 said. I mean, obviously modern antibiotics. New bacteria have had decades to evolve to resist the effects, and they're still crushed 99% of the time. 5-million-year-old bacteria would have no reason to evolve any resistance. It would be like a Roman legion attacking a modern military outpost. They'd get droned from the sky miles away, get absolutely annihilated, and the survivors would say Jupiter struck them down from the heavens. I6 said. They win for a bit then run out of petrol and ammunition and get overrun. Edit. People keep saying that one could either intimidate or ally with etc. someone there. This doesn't deal with the larger issue. Any use of military force would require burning refined petrol to move any faster than walking. Petrol you can't get more of, or expending ammunition you also cannot get more of. By going into the past, your Marine battalion, division, whatever, is entirely cut off from supply. The best you could do is a nuclear carrier, which wouldn't have to have any fuel limits. But it also would basically never be able to use its planes because jet fuel is limited to whatever you have on board. In the immediate term, where do you get food after your rations run out? A carrier has only about 70-90 days worth of food. In the long run, stuff will break down and you have no replacement parts, so that still won't work. Unless you brought a whole supply chain, from raw materials to smelting steel, to building your own receivers and ammunition plants, your invasion into the past will be bogged down by lack of supply after a few months, generously years of heavily rationing, and will be forced to surrender or give up its technological edge. Of course, that's all said only if the smallpox, that we are no longer inoculated against, doesn't kill you all first. I-6 said. Edit 2. I think the course of action that's most survivable is if you go into the past with a carrier battle group. So you're in the Mediterranean or whatever but you need food etc. Either you can get into politics there or just sail to New Zealand, which is uninhabited in the 1st century. It was settled by the Maoris' ancestors around AD 1300. First thing you need to do is get plants into the soil too, steal or pick up crops before you lose freedom of maneuver. There you can rebuild modern society without having to deal with smallpox or sanguinary disputes over land rights. Fortunately you can get to New Zealand in less than 70 days, it's within range. After building strength, re-emerge on the world stage a century later like Atlantis. Only clunker things though, if you're really comfortable with the idea of empire and colonialism. At least for the nuclear carrier and submarines. The other ships may need to be tugged to New Zealand unless you have enough fuel in the carrier and the supply ships. Note also that the most valuable thing you have in the past is what you know. But knowing things will not feed you or protect you in the immediate term. Knowledge reaps rewards only over time. Edit 3. I had no idea that this topic had appeared on Reddit before in the form of a story called Rome Sweet Rome. Regardless, my views are pretty similar to those of Adrian Goldsworthy. https://www.popularamechanics.com/military/a7341/rome-sweet-rome-destroy-the-roman-empire/ Tribeless1 said. Sex robots. Hear me out. Technology has been advancing in rapid leaps and bounds. So those beautiful, brilliant, nerdy bastard building sex robots are going to design the perfect lovers. Not just a pretty woman, but a perfect 10. It will be able to link to the algorithms that the tech companies are keeping on everyone's porn habits. The moment humanity starts to use these sex robots, humans will stop having children. And it's not just sex robots for straight men, but women, and LGBT people as well. The network will keep track of everyone's preferences and responses, fine-tuning the art of building the perfect lover. A sex robot is a lot more affordable than a divorce, which will cost you for years and years to come. But these sex robots will have algorithms studying what will make their masters happy and become the perfect lovers. No arguments, no fighting, no divorce, they're always eager to make you happy. In the end, the last two human survivors will be an old homeless man and old homeless woman who will find and repair salvaged parts for their own sex robots, and humanity will be dust. Caleb032 said. I don't think this would lead to extinction. I think there would be a massive blow to our population, but civilizations existed well before technology. As long as there is animals, plants, and water, I think humanity will continue. A birdie from hell said. I think nuclear war. The Madman theory states that no sane person would launch a nuke due to the fact it would end the world, but I don't think sane people end up in power, and I definitely don't think someone in power would concede power as a result of a war without lobbing one final and world-ending fuck you. For example, if Hitler had nukes, there is no doubt he would have lobbed them all over the world before killing himself. Iberian Nero 91 said. This may actually be the thing. At my workplace I watch this unflawed, Corporate left a crappy system of rewards that enable the douchebags without shame to hoard all the bonuses. The normal workers are all walking out, leaving absolute morons in charge. By morons I mean real morons. They harm their own positions constantly without noticing and then blame others for it, antagonize others. We have equipment that almost no one knows how to use properly at this point, so it's like 20 donkeys looking at a palace. Your comment is on point. PBR Street Gang 67 said. Elliot was not referring to any particular event or cause, but to the state of mankind's morality and strenuosity. His lines about the hollow men and the stuffed men, heads filled with straw, refer to the degeneration of the human race into a species devoid of moral strength, devoid of hope or creativity, hollow men. To Elliot, the species would end when it became so lackadaisical that it lacked even the will to live beyond the life of a farm animal, self-subjugating and Dionysian. This is echoed by Nietzsche's description of the herd as opposed to the Übermensch, the weak and lazy who lack ambition and are resigned to mediocrity, taught that striving for greatness is a sin and that all men should be equal in weakness so as not to offend the meek. This can be recognized in mass entertainment and mass submission to cultural norms, days spent watching television, going to a hated job and living in a loveless relationship because it's expected of them. This is Elliot's whimper. PM Yorbit said. I see most of the likely guesses already. Decent chance that we'll make our planet uninhabitable in the next 100 years or so, but there's another possibility. Most of our societies are evolving in a deeply unhealthy way. We're not interacting physically with members of our communities and establishing connections to the people who share our cities and towns with us. In the hierarchy of needs, social connection is not high, but it is there, and you can already see the effects of it not being met. I think that even if we dodge all the other bullets, we'll raise enough subsequent generations of children that feel no attachment to other humans that will just lose their will to continue. I already see young people today who will never know the joy of a neighborhood pickup game of baseball or going to their pub to socialize or just hanging out with friends. All of their social gratification comes from talking to people online who are much more like them. There is less effort required to understand someone who likes all the same games, music and art that you do than there is to some kid on your track team, so they take the path of least resistance and a lot gets lost in that process. This is not some cranky old man complaining about the next generation. I don't see them as entitled or lazy. I see them as the victims. Number 127 said. Honestly, I don't think so. We'd have to try really, really hard to render the entire Earth completely uninhabitable. In fact, I think it's doubtful we could manage it with our current level of technology even if that were our goal. Oh, sure, we could, and probably will, kill billions, but not every last person on the planet. No matter how badly we fuck up our climate, or destroy our food supply, or even engage in full-scale nuclear war, there are going to be places where small communities can survive, and even thrive. We'd recover in time. I think the only answer is an asteroid impact or some similarly cataclysmic event. Inspi said. Antibiotic immunity is just the diseases leveling the playing field again after a century or so of us winning with antibiotics. Soon we will have antivirals figured out better. Then the handling will swap. Instead of antibiotics ending the disease quickly, we will have to write it out. Instead of having to let a virus run its course, we will get an antiviral for it. Give it some time, then next innovation will come along and changed it up again. Rinse and repeat. Meanwhile, lots of people are screwed, but we survived millennia without either, so the human race will be fine, just, a bit less populous. ICAD 2505 said. I had an idea that humans would get wiped out and dogs and cats would take over the world with their new social skills. What will happen is we will create computers that dogs and cats can operate without opposable thumbs, and then we will die, and then the dogs and cats, or cattle, will run the world via a self-sustaining computer network that knows how to interpret dog and cat input. Zima said. I would not be surprised to see it is starting during our lifetimes. The oceanic conveyor belts are already showing signs of instability, and when these change or cease to exist, the climate will drastically and potentially irreversibly change. And most importantly, unpredictably. This will cause rainfall to change, rivers to change their path, failed crops, mass migrations, heat or cold waves. There's no telling what climate you can expect, so there's no telling what you should be planting. Hipster Latino said. The one which will fully do us in will probably be global warming, however that one will take a really long time to fully get rid of us. That said, there's a few mini apocalypse on the way to that one. Being in the medical field, they drill into our head the dangers of the upcoming future where antibiotic resistance makes all antibiotics useless, which is thought to happen in the next 30 years-ish. We saw with COVID how absolutely useless we are at dealing with pandemics. So if we ever get hit with a similarly infectious disease with a higher death rate, we'll be done. FKR2. Nuclear war seems unlikely due to the MAD doctrine, however, as more small countries like North Korea get them, and the more cocky bug countries like China get at ignoring human rights and expanding borders, the less effective the MAD doctrine will be. Basically, we're fucked. Then again, according to Futurama, a nuclear winter could counteract global warming a little, so hey race hoping. P. Chomsky said. Probably one of the various indirect symptoms of global warming and deforestation. I suspect that the water levels and rising temperatures and increase in variability of weather and storms won't be the thing that does it. There will likely be people with plenty of resources at their disposal who can relocate to newly usable areas, build shelters with sustainable power generation and engineer farms and whatnot to keep a sizable population alive. More likely, it would come from something like a virus way worse than COVID, which are more and more likely as we destroy diversity in the animal kingdom, or as they go extinct due to climate. Outside of that, there's always the unknown factor of supervolcano eruptions or an undetected or undetectable asteroid strike that would speed up the process. I also suspect that well before any genuine threat of total extinction for the whole species, we'd be dealing with a whole lot of people without resources and means to survive being the first victims. The gap of time between most of the world dying and all of the world dying could be a very long period of time. Ognozins2K said. Climate change. Raising the average temperature by a few degrees won't kill humanity, but the events that follow will. Extreme weather, uninhabitable land will force people to migrate, causing major political outrage. Access to food and drinkable water will decline rapidly. Eventually nations will close their borders and everyone is left to fend for themselves. Countries will invade each other for resources and will continue to drain the earth until there's nothing left and the planet becomes uninhabitable. We're talking about a slow ride to impending doom, thousands of years until there is none left. Or full-scale nuclear war or a big-ass asteroid. Captain Cash TV said. Societal collapse will have a slow start when mass migrations to the northern hemisphere begin as climate change, man-made or otherwise, makes growing crops in the equatorial regions of the earth impossible. Hundreds of millions will flood into Spain, Italy, Eastern Europe, Russia, and the US. This coupled with worldwide droughts will cause massive water shortage. Millions will die of dehydration in refugee camps. Smaller countries with fewer resources will totally collapse into anarchy as gangs fight to control resources and profit from the chaos. Larger nations will invade the abandoned territories to extract water with little regard to anyone who decided to stay. This will buy time, but the first domino in the human extinction timeline has already fallen. By this point, the global economy has all but collapsed. Modern supply chains are almost entirely eliminated in favor of producing as much food as possible. Luxuries such as new clothes, cars, technology, are limited to the ultra-wealthy and any resemblance of a middle class is gone. Disease starts to spread as a large portion of the habitable world sees population density skyrocket. Different groups will blame each other, resulting in war and genocide. Society will further retreat into the remaining cities as authorities won't be able to maintain civility in suburban areas. Those cities will be the final beacons of humanity, until they fall due to lack of resources, mass conflict, uncontrollable diseases, or natural disasters. Then humanity will live its final days as we lived some of our earliest, in the caves and ruins of our former glory. Maybe a few thousand lucky ones will get to see some great planet-killing type event that society no longer would be capable of preventing. More Funny Mustache said. It is rather difficult to sign probabilities, especially as a non-expert like myself, but if I had to make a prediction, it would probably be something like this. Climate change displacing hundreds of millions, billions of humans, leading to a mass migration crisis, which will increase tensions, dehumanization, and racism. This will cause more radical nationalist parties to become more popular in many parts of the world, and will increase tensions between countries that will lead to economic sanctions and proxy wars. Low-yield nuclear weapons are more likely to be used on the battlefield than traditional nuclear weapons, which will lead to nuclear escalation, therefore increasing the likelihood of a full nuclear war. The apocalyptic aftermath of this war will leave the few surviving humans to be particularly vulnerable to famines and smaller skirmishes in a contaminated world that will bring a significantly elevated risk for cancer and other radiation-related issues. More Funny Mustache said. Also, this aftermath will displace wildlife from their natural habitat, increasing the probabilities of animal-to-human transmission of pathogens, and possibly epidemics. While each epidemic won't be likely to spread globally without human travel and trade, the lack of global logistical network, reduced number of scientists, and the sheer number of displaced wildlife increases the likelihood of various disease spreading in surviving communities with modest treatment and prevention capabilities. The lack of available vaccinations will bring a return of previously defeated disease. Of course, there is a possibility of biological weapons being deployed in this war as well, making it even more likely to end mankind. The steps I would like to see done to reduce the likelihood of mankind's extinction are countries taking more serious approach to climate change, and imposing serious sanctions on non-cooperating countries. Countries dismantling nuclear weapons globally. Educating people on dehumanization and racism. Increased funding for space projects, working towards making humanity an interstellar species. Whole brain emulation research, allowing humans to live in a computer, abandoning our biology altogether and becoming immortals. Red Redditor 12 said. Everyone is saying humans, but I disagree. I'm not saying we're the most intelligent beings. We do have wars, prejudice, poor judgment, self-destructive tendencies, the whole nine. But we're also intelligent enough to terraform an entire planet, Mars. If we go extinct, I think it'll be from an astronomical event we simply don't have the time to prepare for. Literally us against the universe's clock. Think our sun dying. Beyond that, humanity will find a way. I honestly think what we're living through right now, technological breakthrough in internet, here on Earth is the beginning of the human species, not anything close to the end. Edit. See my comments below. I link to another comment in this thread. In summary, I referenced terraforming Mars to highlight our potential, not to emphasize an escape route for humankind. Our next big obstacle is stabilizing our environment and understanding how we can minimize our footprint here on Earth. If we are unable to sustain life here on Earth, we certainly will not ever be able to become an interplanetary species. Thousands of years from now this will be Geoengineering 101.